Alvin is 32 years old. Last month, he bought a Toyota Corolla. Not a luxury car, a Corolla. The same car that costs 22,000 US dollars in America, roughly 30,000 Singapore dollars if you imported it without any taxes. He paid $178,000. The COE alone, the certificate that gives him the right to drive the car for 10 years, was $126,000. That is more than the salary most Singaporeans earn in 2 years. He paid it. He drove the car home. He felt good about the decision. He has not calculated what that decision costs over 30 years. Most Singaporeans who own cars have not done this calculation. Not because they are careless with money, because the full number is large enough that nobody wants to see it written down. This video will write it down. Before the 30-year number, you need to understand why the car costs what it costs. Because it is not random, it is deliberate. And understanding the design helps you understand why the cost will not go down. The Certificate of Entitlement system was introduced by Singapore on 1st May 1990. The first Category A COE for cars under 1,600 cubic centimeters sold at auction for 302 Singapore dollars. 302. In the first COE bidding exercise of July 2026, Category A closed at $129,000. Category B, larger cars, closed at $130,889. That is a price increase of over 40,000% since 1990. The system works by capping the total number of vehicles on Singapore's roads. The Land Transport Authority releases a quota of COEs every month based on how many vehicles are being deregistered. The policy since 2018 has been zero net growth in total vehicle population. No new car can be registered without a COE. The COE is won through competitive bidding. When demand exceeds supply, which it structurally does in a country where road space is finite and growing incomes increase the desire for cars, prices rise. Here's the number that makes the system permanent. In the financial year ending March 2026, Singapore's vehicle quota premiums generated $8.66 billion, 31.1% more than the government had originally estimated. Combined with motor vehicle tax, total vehicle-related revenue reached $11.05 billion, more than the entire annual GDP of Fiji. For FY 2026, the government projects another $9.42 billion from COE alone. A fiscal system that generates $12 billion annually from vehicle-related charges has a structural interest in sustained high COE prices. Any policy that meaningfully expanded vehicle supply would create a revenue shortfall that would need to be replaced elsewhere. The percentage of Singapore households owning a car fell from 42.1% in 2012 to 35.3% in 2017. Cars are becoming less accessible, not more. The design is working exactly as intended. This is the system Alvin entered. He did not make a bad decision by the standards of his peers. He made a very expensive one by the standards of what that money could otherwise have done. Now the full 30-year calculation. Not the monthly payment, not the sticker price, the actual number. Alvin bought his Corolla in 2026. He will own cars, renewing or replacing, until he is 62. 3 complete COE cycles. The first cycle, 2026 to 2036. Purchase price, all in, $178,000. That includes the COE of $126,000, the additional registration fee on the car's open market value of approximately $27,000, registration and excise duties, and GST. The COE alone is 64% of what he paid. Running costs over 10 years. Insurance, averaged over the decade with a building no claims discount, approximately $2,000 per year, $20,000 total. Road tax for a 1,600 cubic centimeters petrol car, $744 per year, $7,440 total. Petrol at $3 per litre, 15,000 kilometers per year, 12 kilometers per litre, approximately 3,750 per year, 37,500 total. Parking at $130 per month for HDB season parking, plus occasional commercial parking, approximately 1,800 per year, 18,000 total. ERP charges for a typical commuter, approximately $1,000 per year, 10,000 total. Servicing and maintenance, approximately 1,500 per year, 15,000 total. Total running costs for 10 years, $107,940. PARF rebate at deregistration in 2036. Under Singapore's new PARF schedule, effective from 13th February 2026, a car deregistered between 9 and 10 years receives 5% of the ARF paid, capped at $30,000. For Alvin's car with an ARF of $27,000, $1,350 back, not $13,500, $1,350. That is what the new schedule returns to him after a decade of ownership. First cycle total, $178,000 plus $107,940 minus $1,350, approximately $284,000. The second cycle, 2036 to 2046. At 10 years, Alvin faces a choice: renew the COE or buy a new car. The prevailing quota premium, the rolling 3-month average used for renewals, is currently $114,000 for Category A. If COE prices remain at anything close to current levels through 2036, renewal or replacement will cost a similar amount. Using a conservative estimate of $100,000 for the second COE, accounting for some possibility of moderation but no return to the sub-$50,000 era, which COE Kaki and multiple analysts describe as structurally over. The second cycle looks like this. COE renewal or replacement, $100,000. Running costs for another 10 years. The road tax surcharge for a car between 10 and 20 years old adds 10% per year, compounding to a 50% cap. Insurance adjusts. Petrol costs will have shifted. Conservatively, $115,000 in running costs over the decade. Second cycle total, approximately $215,000. The third cycle, 2046 to 2056. Alvin is 52 to 62. Third COE cycle at an estimated $110,000, with running costs of approximately $120,000, reflecting continued inflation in petrol, parking, and maintenance costs. Third cycle total, approximately $230,000. Total cost of 30 years of car ownership for one average Singaporean, approximately $729,000. Of that, $336,000 is COE alone, not petrol, not insurance, not maintenance. The government's fee for the right to drive. Let that number sit for a moment. $336,000 paid for a piece of paper that expires 3 times. Now the number most people in this video's audience will immediately want to dismiss, what the same money does if it is not spent on cars. May is 35 years old. She takes the MRT everywhere. She uses Grab when she needs it, evenings, rainy days when she is carrying groceries. Her total monthly transport spend, approximately $380. Monthly cost of Alvin's car, including all running costs amortized, approximately $2,400. The difference every month, $2,020. $2,020 per month, invested consistently in CSPX, the Irish domiciled S&P 500 ETF, at 7% average annual returns over 30 years, approximately $2,444,000. This is not a comparison between a car and a savings account. It is a comparison between driving and the retirement that driving prevents. The COE alone, the 3 payments of $126,000, $110,000, and $100,000 spread over 30 years and invested instead at 7%, becomes $1.56 million. The 64% of the car's purchase price that is COE does not fund roads. It does not fund the MRT. It is not a transport infrastructure investment. It is auctioned away as a license. In 30 years, 3 licenses, each one worth hundreds of thousands of dollars in compounding investment returns that were never made. David is 48 years old. He is a VP at a financial institution. He earns $18,000 a month. He bought his first car at 26, his second at 36, his third last year. COE paid over those 3 purchases, $45,000 in 2004, $85,000 in 2014, $126,000 in 2025. Total COE alone, $256,000. That does not include running costs, which across 22 years of car ownership, he estimates in the region of $250,000. Total spent on cars, approximately $506,000. His investment portfolio today, $280,000. He is not a spendthrift. He earns $18,000 a month and has been doing so for 5 years. The money went somewhere reasonable: mortgage, children's education, family expenses. But 2 decades of car ownership removed $500,000 from the pool that was available to compound. At 7% over 20 years, $256,000 in COE payments alone becomes approximately $1,030,000. David's net worth would look fundamentally different if even the COE portion of his car spending had gone into a passive index fund instead. He is not unusual. He is the arithmetic of Singapore car ownership, played out across a lifetime. The question almost everyone asks at this point is, what about people who genuinely need a car? It is a fair question, and it has a fair answer. Singapore's MRT network connects every major residential estate on the island. 60% of Singaporeans use public transport as their primary mode of travel, according to Budget Direct. A monthly transport pass costs approximately $128. The MRT runs from before 5:30 in the morning to after midnight. The argument that a car is a practical necessity for most Singaporean households is weakest in the city that built one of the world's most comprehensive urban transit systems, specifically so that cars would not be necessary. There are genuine exceptions: families with young children and irregular hours, people with mobility constraints, those whose work requires transporting equipment. The calculation looks different for them, not because the cost is lower, but because the utility genuinely justifies part of it. For everyone else, the car in Singapore is overwhelmingly a lifestyle purchase, not a transport solution, a status decision. And in 2026, that status costs, over a working lifetime, approximately $729,000, plus whatever that money would have compounded to. The question is not whether you can afford a car. The question is whether you can afford what a car prevents. There is one more number to know before this video ends. It is the number that makes the system feel permanent in a way that even the $9.42 billion government projection does not fully convey. In January 2013, Category B COE hit $96,210, a record that stood for nearly a decade. When it happened, analysts predicted the market had peaked. It had not. In 2023, Category A hit $106,000, and Category E hit $150,000. International outlets ran stories. Analysts again said the market had peaked. Category A in July 2026, $129,000, a new high. The COE 30-year timeline is direct. The era of sub-$30,000 COEs appears to be over unless there is a severe economic downturn. Not a policy change, a severe economic downturn. And even then, the history shows prices recovered rapidly after every previous crash. After the 1997 Asian financial crisis, after the 2008 global financial crisis, after the 2020 circuit breaker. The PARF rebate reduction announced in Budget 2026 quietly made this more permanent. By paying owners less for deregistering early, LTA has reduced the incentive to turn over vehicles, which reduces the supply of replacement COEs, which structurally keeps prices elevated. The mechanism that was designed to moderate COE prices has been weakened in a year when COE prices are at record highs. The financial dependency runs in one direction. Alvin still drives his Corolla. He enjoys it. The comfort is real. The convenience is real. On a Wednesday evening after a long day, the ability to sit in his own car and drive home without waiting for a train is something he values. He now knows what that value costs. Over 30 years in total, with every expense included, approximately $729,000. In COE alone, approximately $336,000. In investment returns foregone, over $2 million. He has not sold the car. He made a decision, and he stands by it. But he has done two things since running this calculation. He maximized his SRS contribution before December, $15,300, and invested it in CSPX. Not to make up for the car, to build something in parallel that the car will not reach. And he has already decided. When this COE expires in 2036, he will do the calculation again before bidding. Not to feel guilty. To decide with clear eyes whether the next $100,000 is for a piece of paper or for a portfolio. The Toyota Corolla that costs $30,000 to produce costs $178,000 to own in Singapore. The difference? $148,000 is a policy decision. A deliberate, considered, fiscally embedded policy that has generated $12 billion in a single year and shows no structural incentive to change. Over 30 years, 3 COE cycles cost more than the median Singapore household earns in 5 years. That is the number. The question is, what you do with knowing it.